A clarification document has been submitted to mediators in the hostage ceasefire deal by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, including changes to the original deal proposed by the U.S. in May, according to a Ynet report published Tuesday. The original proposal, submitted by the U.S. on behalf of Benjamin Netanyahu, received Hamas consent for most parts of the deal, according to an official who spoke with Ynet. According to the report, the document was completed on July 27 and contained 7 pages detailing the precise maps and the names of 40 Israeli hostages. Withdrawal from Gaza. The proposal, submitted on May 27, stated that the Israeli security forces would completely withdraw from Gaza starting on the 7th day of the ceasefire, until the 22nd day. The IDF withdrawal from central Gaza Strip would include a complete dismantling of military posts and installations. There was no mention of a withdrawal from the Philadelphia corridor. The Ynet report stated that the redeployment of the IDF troops will be carried out in accordance with the attached maps. According to the report, a third map was added within the clarification document, revealing that the Israeli security forces would continue to be present along the Philadelphia corridor. Tens of thousands of protesters marched behind the marchers carrying coffins representing the 6 hostages who were murdered at the end of last week, headed for Begin Street in Tel Aviv. Return of the displaced. The agreement presented in May requested the return of the internally displaced to their place of residence, and the withdrawal from Gaza Valley, Netzarim Axis and Kuwait roundabout. On day 7, after the release of 7 of the female hostages, Israeli forces will completely withdraw from Rashid Street eastwards to Salah ad-Din Street, and the complete dismantling of military sites and installations in the area, the commencement of return of internally displaced to their place of residence, without carrying arms while returning, the freedom of movement of the population in all areas of the Gaza Strip, and the entry of humanitarian aid through Rashid Street from day 1 without restrictions, the document stated. Although Israel had previously demanded checkpoints to ensure that the displaced Gazans return without weapons, this request was waived in the May proposal. However, according to the report, the new document states that in order to ensure this, a pre-agreed system be implemented. The document states that the returnees will be guaranteed and implemented in a pre-approved manner. Hostages. Although Israel had previously dropped the requirement for a specific list of names in the May agreement, the clarification specified a precise list of 40 hostages that fall in the humanitarian category, women, children, and ill that are thought to be alive to be released in the first phase of the deal. This is compared to the May deal that requested 33 hostages, who fall under the same category, though the list was not included. Stay updated with the latest news. Subscribe to the Jerusalem Post newsletter. Subscribe now. During this stage, Hamas shall release 33 of the Israeli hostages, living and human remains, who are women, civilians and soldiers, children under 19 years who are not soldiers, elderly above 50 years, and ill and wounded civilians, in exchange for a number of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli prisons and detention centers, the May agreement stated. The 33 hostages that Hamas will release in Stage 1 will include all the living Israeli hostages from the humanitarian list, enclosed in Annex 2. The document released by Ynet revealed the names of 4 out of 6 abductees, who were murdered by Hamas and retrieved by the IDF on August 31. According to an unnamed official who spoke with Ynet, the question of who is regarded as sick can likely be debated, possibly further postponing the deal. The July 27 document also modified terms for the release of Palestinian prisoners, removing the stipulation for deportation to Gaza and allowing for deportation abroad instead. The previous agreement offered the release of all living Israeli female soldiers from Hamas captivity in exchange for 50 Palestinian prisoners per hostage. According to the May deal, an agreed-upon number, at least 50, of prisoners with a life sentence will be released abroad or in Gaza. The new document, however, removed the option for Palestinian prisoners to be released into Gaza, and added a cap to the amount of prisoners released. The Israeli list of Palestinian prisoners who will be released abroad will include at least 50, and up to 200 names, the document states. Rafah crossing. According to the clarification document, Israel is no longer committed to reopening the Rafah crossing but only to make arrangements for its reopening. The May document stated, after all Israeli female soldiers have been released, permitting the number to be agreed upon of wounded military individuals to travel to the Rafah crossing to receive medical treatment, and the increase in the number of travelers and ill and wounded through the Rafah crossing and removal of restrictions on travel and return of movement of goods and trade. However, the released document from July stated, arrangements will be made to reopen RCP for the travel of ill and wounded individuals and for movement of goods and trade. Criticism and reactions. According to Ynet, the document was highly criticized by Israeli officials and the families of the abductees, who claim it was designed to sabotage the negotiations. There has been continuous criticism of Netanyahu for allegedly undermining the negotiations and prolonging the conflict. This is an article from the Jerusalem Post at September 4, 2024. Please check the link at the description. Pictures gotten from internet and may not correlate with the audio. If you like the video, please subscribe. Thank you for listening.